Hey, this is Litmus G. I've been meaning for a while to post my second kind of tips video. And in the last couple of weeks, a couple of people, Jazz Zoo and Eric Hughes, have commented on my last one, asked a couple of questions, which is really useful. Thanks so much for that. And it's kind of prompted me to get a move on and start video number 2. Keep your ideas coming in the comments. I've got a few things that I might cover over the next couple of months, but I'm specifically trying to put a few things out there that either I haven't seen on other videos. I've watched quite a lot, so I know there's a lot of stuff out there. Maybe a few things that I've sort of done my own way, and just generally a few hints and tips that work pretty well for DJing garage and also grime. So this video I'm going to focus on what I do when I'm prepping a track in Rekordbox. So how I use cue points, a few things that I've sort of learnt sort of help me when it comes to later putting a mix together. So I'm in my garage folder. Pretty much all of my recent mixes have been grime, so I haven't even looked in this folder for a long time. But there's a few tracks up here which you can see are not yet kind of processed. So let me pick one. We'll go with this dubster one. Come on, computer. There we go, brilliant. So now it's processing this. So I'll just sort of walk through what I do, the steps I take when processing a new track. The first thing I'll do is get it playing. I'll just turn the volume down a bit so that you can hear me. So while that's playing, the very first thing I will do in normal situations is put that track in a playlist. The reason I do this, I mean, this is a garage folder. My grime one is a lot bigger than this, but there's so many tracks here, you never want to be really putting a set together just using your general pool of tracks. Turn the volume down a bit more. You'll get lost, you'll not know where to go, so make sure every track that you process finds its way into a playlist. Up here, these are all mine. Most of the recent ones are named after, these are my Run the Rhythm shows and the playlists I put together for them. But think about how you can best use playlists, whether it's for a show, a particular set. A good thing to do, which I don't yet, is do it by genre, so you can easily find not just garage but different types of tunes for particular points in your set. But if you wanted to put it in one, you just drag it, drop it into the playlist, and then you know that it's going to be where you need it. So I'll just stop that, go back to the beginning. The second thing, none of this will be new, but always get the beat grids in the right place. So I've clicked on grid here. One thing that took a while for me to figure out was that we have a metronome here. Let me just put the volume back up again. Now we can hear the metronome ticking away. One thing I will just point out is somewhere, right click on the metronome and you can change the sound. So I think this is the default, which is pretty horrible. We've got this one which I can barely hear. And then I prefer this one, it's almost like a cowbell, kettlebell type thing. And you can adjust the volume of it here. And what that means is, rather than just looking visually to see if the lines kind of broadly line up with where you'd expect them to be, you can essentially start beat matching. You can match the sound of the metronome to where the song really kicks in and get your grids as tight as you possibly can. And as you can tell on this one, they sound pretty much in line, so I won't mess about too much with them, but you can spend as much or as little time as you want. Now you probably noticed we're slightly out. We should have the first beat of the bar in red here, but we haven't, so we can change that quickly. Now this one should be the first beat. If that ever happens, I'm sure you know this anyway, but just click that and it resets, puts the red one there. Now one of the things that is a bit more useful, and where I start to sort of do my own thing really, rather than jumping to the start of the track and putting your first cue point there, what I like to do is use hot cues to give me a visual indication of where the drops are on a song. So this one, I won't play it again because it's been playing for quite a while, but this song, this part of it starts on the beat 16, and you can kind of have a listen and make a call whether you want to class that as the drop or do you wait for 32. Turn the metronome off, we don't need that anymore. And essentially what you're looking for is where's the part of the track that you want to be, sort of playing on its own. You've mixed the other track out, and bang, here's the track. Something like this, it's kind of personal choice really. You could say it's here and keep it nice and simple. I'd probably say that this part forms the intro and it really kicks in here. So for me, I would take this beat here. I would say that's the real drop of the track. And then what I do, go onto cue loop. Sorry, my PC's a bit on the slow side today. Not sure why this is happening. And now, what I do here, and I might have to figure out a better way of explaining it, but most tracks that I'm mixing are either going to have an 8, 16, 24 or 32 bar intro. Now we're saying this one, for me, that's 32, because the drop is on 33.1. Same would apply if it was 16 though, that's up to you. And then what I do, I want to be able to see quickly and visually where the drop is. Now you can use these hot cues, as many as you want, and it puts up here a visual indicator of where that drop is. What you can also do is change the colour of them to any colours here. And what I have is a system where, for whether it's 8, 16, 24 or 32, I use a different letter for each of those. A is 8, B is 16, C is 24, D is 32. I also use a different colour so that it's easier to see the colour than the letter, but I like to do both just because it makes sense to me. So for me, if I'm saying the tune drops in after 32, that's D, and it just happens to be that I use this kind of blue colour for that as well. If we had said that it dropped here, and you know what, you could put a couple on a track like this and decide when you're mixing it. But if it was a 16, then for me that would be B, and I happen to use green for 16. If the drop was over here after 8 beats, then for me I use A and I use yellow. And if this was a 24 bar intro, I'd use C and I use red. The colours mean nothing for me. Sort of green and blue, you kind of safer colours, your more standard length. You don't have to pay too much attention if it's a 16 or a 32 intro. They're pretty straightforward to work with. But an 8 bar intro means you've got to be thinking a bit more, and certainly at 24 you might want to think about when do I actually want to start bringing this track in so that it sounds good when it comes out the other end. So obviously I'd only have one of these per track, but that's kind of my system for setting a visual marker of where the drop is. So let's say that this track, we've done that. Once I've done that, then I would go back to the start and then put my cue point on, just hit cue, and put my memory cue. So memory cue is obviously where the track loads from when you first put it in. So when I'm playing this in the mix, it's going to load on the first beat, and I can quickly see, for me, this is a 32 bar intro. All the information is there. I would then instantly kind of have an idea of when I might want to drop this song into a mix and how long I might have to mix it for before that exit point. So that's kind of the main things I do. And if I jump into one of these playlists, this is the one from one of my recent shows, you'll see that, I mean, these are all grime tracks, but even if you just look at this preview column, Oh, my mouse isn't showing on the screen. But if you look, you can see in the preview column that you can see every track has a yellow A, a red C, a green B, and so on. So even before you're choosing what song to play next, you kind of have an idea. If you got a track playing and you think, oh, I'd like to have a long slow mix for the next one, let's pick something that's got 32. You can look for your Ds. If I load one of these tracks, here you go, 5 Bills by Potence. This is an A. I know straight away that's an 8-bar intro. And then if I combine, and I won't do it here because I'm in export mode, but if I combine what I talked about in my first video with using loops to help you drop that first beat in, actually you've got a loop going. So if you wanted to, you could loop the first couple of bars over and over and turn this 8-bar intro into a 16 or a 32 or whatever you want to do, so you can start getting creative with it. So that's pretty much my process. As you can see, all of these songs, they've all got the same thing. There's an 8-bar intro, 16. As I say, I use loops to mix it up a bit, so you don't have to just play the number of bars and then swap from one track to another. You can get a lot more creative than that. The first thing that we covered was obviously put your track into a playlist. Otherwise, it's a lot more difficult to find it when you need to, and it can get lost in a big folder. Second thing, when setting your beat grid, do use the metronome. Get used to doing that. It's good practice to get your ears working for you. You're not just setting lines on a screen visually. Get used to making sure that the beat of the metronome is where it should be. And then we looked at using hot cues to give you a visual indicator of where the song drops in, and that's really useful when you're doing a set for an hour, 2 hours. Maybe you're mixing new music that you've only bought a few days ago and you're not yet familiar with it, so having an idea of where the drop is, what sort of length of intro you've got to play with, that's always really useful. And I've not seen any videos on it. I'm sure other people have a similar thing, but this is how I currently sort of organise my tracks. I will call it a day there. Thanks for watching. Hope some of that is useful. Please drop a note in the comments, any questions, and I'm making this video as a direct response really for a couple of people that took the time to watch the first one and ask me a couple of things. So I will think about what I can do on the different types of transitions for mixing garage. But anything else that you'd like me to cover, please let me know, because I know there's a lot of info out there, but not much of it is specific to garage and grime. So I hope you find that useful. I am on Twitter at Litmus_G. And if you check out the rest of my YouTube channel, you can find lots of examples of my mixes. Some of the more recent ones are for my bi-weekly radio show on runtheRhythm.com. But thanks for listening, and I'll catch up soon.